What is up, everybody? Welcome to Rats on Film, the show where a couple of film rats talk about and rank movies. Today on the show, we're putting our bodies on the line, and we are talking about the great Jackie Chan. On the show with me today, I have Buck.
I'm feeling Chan-tastic and so happy to be here.
And I'm your host, Xander. Welcome to the show, everybody. Did you preempted Chan-tastic?
I was reading Jackie Chan's biography, and
yes.
I have heard his honorary Oscar induction thing where Tom Hanks says Chan-tastic like 7 times. And I was always like cringing whenever I heard it. But then I read in his biography that he loved that. So I'm like, I guess then, it's safe. Maybe cut this part out. Don't explain.
You want him to love you as well.
I wanted him to love me as well. That's pretty much it. I mean, how can you not? That's like the thing that you want most from Jackie Chan.
So Buck and I are huge Jackie Chan fans. I feel like it's actually one of the big things we bonded over.
It actually
in college
is.
Together. We had Jackie Chan night. We were genuinely once a month. We were getting together to watch Jackie Chan movies.
And you would think we were not cool in college, but no, we were. I was in the marching band, and I would have Jackie Chan nights. I made time for 2 really cool things.
Yeah, I've been watching all of his stuff for a really long time, and it's been interesting kind of in my adult life to go more deep into some of his Hong Kong stuff that didn't make it over this way as accessibly.
Yeah. I feel like there's niche things for everything I like, and specifically for film. I mean, you can find so many video essays on James Bond, so many video essays on Mission Impossible, and I'm gravitating to these because they're action franchises. But the Jackie Chan content, I feel like, is very shallow. And I really want to talk about this because I feel like this really made me feel comfortable liking Jackie Chan as an artist publicly, was the Every Frame a Painting video, which I know you love.
It's one of the greatest videos ever.
It's the most entertaining video essay ever made. And it's so insightful and so smart. And it's like the peak of what video essays can be to me.
Yeah, it's Tony and Taylor are the two creators of that, and they're both amazing. And I think that they're we're going to talk about some of the stuff that they talk about in that video, but they're a huge inspiration just on the vibe of what this podcast should be.
I think back to that video probably more than any textbook. Like, people talk about Walter Murch in A Blink of the Eye. I talk about the Every Frame a Painting Jackie Chan video. And I feel like Jackie Chan is, I guess what I'm getting at is I still don't think he's respected enough as a director. I'm kind of floored that there's not more written about him. There's not more retrospectives for him. I feel like he's not respected enough and not remembered and not in the common lexicon as one of the greatest directors of all time.
Well, 2 of the film rats are here to give him some love today. So this is a little bit tricky because I looked it up. It's 46 Jackie Chan movies. I do like a lot of them.
So do I.
And Buck, you've seen a lot as well. So it was hard to narrow down what we were going to talk about, but we try and keep it smaller list. I think we may end up doing a part 2 and adding on to this list at a certain point. But for today, Buck and I went through painstakingly and selected 7 films.
I don't like talking to Xander, and we talked about it.
So let's get into it. We'll start out with Project A from 1983.
Yes. Project A for me, I want to start off the gun by talking about the 3 brothers.
You mean the 3 dragons? Are they called the 3 brothers as well?
I call them the 3 brothers. What do you call them? The 3 dragons?
I've always known them as the 3 dragons. Jackie Chan, Sammo Hung, and Yuen Biao.
Yes.
All incredible performers. And every time they're together in a film, it rules.
For me, Project A is probably the first time the Jackie formula felt like it existed. Because you had Drunken Master before. You had The Young Master. You've had some of his Dragon Lord. You had some of his earlier stuff. But I feel like for me, Project A is where this idea of his style of action comedy was realized.
Yeah, I think that it's the first one, at least of the ones that I've seen, that kind of starts to get away from trying to be a Bruce Lee clone, which is what a lot of people were doing in this era, including him. I mean, he literally, one of his first films is New Fists of Fury. I think that you start to see it later on in his work, but one of the things that I always think about when I watch this movie, I mean, obviously there's the Harold Lloyd homage in this film that shows you what some of his influences are. And I think that this is so slapsticky. It's so Buster Keaton that it really gives such a new level to what action movies can be, because there is such a dichotomy of scenes of him like biking and sitting on a bike stool with no seat on it and it going up his butt. And then also him like doing crazy stunts on a bike at the same time, like flipping cans and water jugs into people's faces and stuff like that. And marrying those two things is what makes Jackie Chan great.
Again, it's just like his use of the frame, his use of staging. The first fight where you see this realized is when you have the army guys fight the Navy guys in this big bar brawl. You're getting the distilled thing of like Jackie, the way he gets goaded into a fight. And then it's this massive brawl. And then you see them get hurt. And it's funny. And it's stunning action. And somehow they were able to keep track of all those characters in that room. And it feels like you're in the room and you know where everyone is and you know how the fight's going and you're entertained.
There's stuff in that is pure comedy, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I think later on he starts to blend the action into the comedy a little bit more, but there's the sailor who's trying to re-spaghetti the cop.
Yes.
And there's just multiple moments of him. He's got a giant tray of spaghetti. He's trying to put it on the guy. He gets it on a girl. Like, there's moments that are played just for laughs, and they work really, really well because it's that sort of like timeless slapsticky humor. Watching someone get a plate of spaghetti in their face is funny.
Yeah, you're in for a special movie the second Jackie is late to work and he jumps off his bicycle and it goes straight into that slot. This is often listed, I feel like, as a really classic one, and it makes so much sense. And it's the first. And it's the three dragons working at their peak of their abilities.
Yeah, I think the three of them together too, the end fight in the pirate hideout where they take on the pirate king, them all fighting together is really, really great. Yeah, I do really love the three of them on screen together. There's one of my other favorite moments is the fight after the bike chase with Sammo and Jackie in the restaurant. There is such a great, Jordan is not really a big action movie person, but she does like Jackie Chan, and she's kind of expressed it to me as it's more like dance than it is like fighting, because everything is so choreographed. There's a real rhythm, and you can feel it more in some movies and in some scenes than in others, but they do really have this rhythmic element to it, and I feel like that scene is a good encapsulation of that, the way that Jackie and Sammo move together and work off of each other to do the fight when they have the two little boards in their hands and it's all like to the beat. That stuff is so great to me. I always love it.
It's martial arts more than it is just fighting. And I can't, because even if I feel like even if I watch other Hong Kong action movies or Hong Kong martial art movies, I feel like they don't have that rhythm. It is like dance, and it's just they make fighting beautiful.
So yeah, I mean, Project A is a great one. We'll start on the top of the list for now, and then we'll go on to Wheels on Meals from 1984.
I think this is the funniest of Jackie's movies.
Yeah, it is. It does have a very interesting pacing for a Jackie movie, where there are very long stretches that are really just played for plot and comedy. But the comedy is really well done in this, and I feel like the movie's almost kind of in two halves, where it's like a half a comedy movie, half an action movie, and the first half is all comedy and the second half is all action.
Yeah. I'd go as far as being like, there's one action fight up front, then 70 minutes of comedy, then the last 20 minutes is just action.
Yeah.
And when the action's working, it's stunning. And the stunt work, I mean, Jackie climbing up the wall, outstanding, amazing. The fights, all three of the fights at the end. I love the climax of this movie, but even more so, I love the car chase. The car chase is very funny. That gag, I forgot about the gag till the rewatch, but the gag that's also product placement of
Dude,
the old
I have
woman
this written
in
down
the
too.
Mitsubishi is so funny. And there's so many Jackie Chan gags that are stolen. I have never seen that gag in an American movie, and I don't understand why no one has stolen that gag. To me, that's one of the funniest gags from these films that I've never seen elsewhere.
I laughed out loud watching it again because it's just so hilarious.
Oh, there's so much good. Just the opening too of their bedrooms having two doors but being the same room.
Yes, yeah, just really. I mean, you said about using the frame and stuff like that. This is directed by Sammo, and I think that film is a visual medium, right? And obviously, action lends itself well to visual storytelling. So fair enough. These guys are masters at that, so they do that really well, obviously. But when it comes to comedy, I think a lot of comedy movies don't lean hard enough into visual comedy. I think there's so often comedy being delivered just via dialogue. It's just people talking to each other, saying written jokes or improving jokes to each other. And I definitely like that stuff and I can get behind it. But there is something to sitting and watching something like two guys walking out of their bedrooms and they're just the same room, or, you know, little things like jumping out the window and landing on the awning. And then the shop owner downstairs puts up the awning and Yumbiao just lands right on his ass. Like good visual gags that work really well and are really fun to watch. And again, timeless and classic.
And it just engages you in the story. For some way, it's like, I feel like using visual gags, and not the awning gag comes back at the end when Samo breaks straight through it. There's two punchlines on the awning gag, which is hysterical. Visual punchlines and visual jokes, I feel like, are so engaging because it makes you have to be absorbed in the film. This movie's plot is ridiculous. It is so absurd.
Yeah, I don't want to sound reductive when I say this, but in general, as a rule of thumb, Jackie Chan movies tend to not be super plot heavy. It's not the focus. No. And they don't pretend to be. They want to get you in situations where they can be funny, or they could be action, or they could be both.
Yes.
And this does that. I mean, the plot, I'm with you. It's like crazy and you're like, okay, sure. But for the first half you're watching it, I'm laughing at the gags. And then the second half, when we get into the action, I'm like, these fights are incredible. Have to shout out Benny the Jet.
Benny the Jet putting out a candlestick with his legs from a distance.
Insane. Yeah.
Maybe
the
one
fight
of the best
between
shots.
Jackie and him is so fucking good. It's one of the best Jackie fights of all time, in my opinion. I think that it has so many elements to it. You know, the candle shot is one of the iconic moments. Some of the acrobatics that Jackie is doing during the fight. There's some great gags of Jackie like feigning going in, and he does it a couple too many times. He gets hit right in the face. Like there's some really, really good stuff in there, and really unique stuff that again doesn't feel repetitive from the beginning of the movie. That's something I think that's difficult that Jackie should get a lot of credit for. He's making martial arts movies for most of his career, and I'm sure if you watched every single one back to back to back, you'd be like, oh, I've seen him do that move before. But in general, there is such a diversity and a uniqueness to the fights, the way that they're staged, the way the locations, who he's fighting, how many people he's fighting. And I think it adds so much because it's exciting every time you watch it. Even though I've seen the fight before, it's like a little gem of its own thing.
Watching a Jackie Chan fight is like 6 minutes of bliss that you can just do to turn off your day. It is amazing how unrepetitive they are, but it's also like, all right, what is his story with this guy? And that's always ever so slightly different. Even though Jackie's usually at the disadvantage, which they talk about in every frame painting, it's always like the story is ever so slightly different. And I love that the way that it's told in Wheels is that Jackie's a martial arts expert. That's part of his character, right? And Benny is just that much better than him. And that's all you need. Right. And that's all you need to know. He
fights him earlier in the movie, and Jackie goes, I'm going to lose this, and runs away.
Yeah. And then he has to talk to himself, at least in the American cut I watched, with that voiceover to like hype himself up to like get into another round with him. And
like when he sits down in the chair.
This works so beautifully in with the choreography and stuff. It's just smart writing in the simplest form.
So do we both agree that it's above Project A?
Listen, any movie where the main character motivation is simping is just very relatable to me. So
yeah, sure.
I feel like this has got to go above just because I relate to it more.
All right, next up on the list, Police Story, 1985. Once again, directed by Jackie Chan.
Probably the greatest action movie of all time.
You think so? Wow, you're coming out with a...
I'm coming out with a big swing here because if we're talking just strictly action storytelling, this is the gold standard. Because I think unlike all of the other movies that we're going to talk about today, this movie has no lull. This movie is wall to wall, brilliantly staged scenes. And it manages to be very funny and very serious and decently dark at points. But it's constantly moving. The action is top notch. The Acting is top notch. The story is probably the most robust out of any of the films we're going to talk about, and it works. But I think that one of the biggest weak points for me in a lot of the Jackie movies is the music. And this is like one of the few Jackie movies that has a recognizable theme. And it's not super crazy or super detailed or technical or anything, but it helps and it works. And it's like, this is Jackie, action hero at his peak.
I definitely agree with you that it's wall-to-wall action. I mean, it starts out with such an insane set piece and ends on an even more insane set piece. There's tons of little fights in between. There's tons of little comedy scenes in between. I got to give a huge shout out to Maggie Cheung.
Maggie Cheung.
She's an amazing actress. And I love her in the Police Story films. She gets done so dirty by her not great boyfriend. And she's always trying to just be a nice person and do the right thing. And she's always getting screwed over, but she plays it really, really well. One of the best scenes to me with her is the scene where Jackie's in the shower and the way that it's shot where you can see down the hallway of the shower that he's in, she's on the other side of the wall, all that kind of stuff. So you get reaction and action in the same shots. It just works so well.
And then it builds. I think there's a brilliance to all these movies where it's like, all right, you could start with the main gag, which is he brings home this girl and gets a birthday cake in his face. But then there's the phone bit where he's pretending to be on the phone. Then there's the shower bit. Then she comes back. And then he gets another cake in the face from another guy.
He deserved the second cake for sure.
Yeah. But they managed to tie the knot so tight of the comedy. And it just keeps building and building and building.
Well, and you said too that this movie is a little bit more dark than some of his other ones. I also think that something that becomes more of a thing later on in his filmography is Nice Guy Jackie.
Yes.
And this movie definitely isn't in the Nice Guy Jackie camp. I mean, it's a little bit of a different mode for him than you see in some of the later stuff where he's always just a nice guy looking to do the right thing who doesn't really want trouble.
The other aspect of Jackie I feel like you'd lose is, it's there's Nice Guy Jackie, which I think is like in the characterization. But for me, there's two action scene Jackies. And the one that's so prevalent in the late 90s, Nice Guy Jackie, is the I don't want any trouble. But then Police Story and all of the police stories for that matter.
No, he wants trouble in this movie.
Yeah,
he's
gets
like,
pissed.
I'm getting this guy.
I love angry Jackie. We get absolutely balls to the wall. I will not stop till this man is captured, Jackie, which is what makes that last fight so thrilling.
I think too, we got to talk about the mall fight because
yes.
Maybe it's the best action scene he's ever done. I think it's debatable. It's up there for me.
It's the best. I will give you this. It's probably the best action sequence.
The way that this is staged in the mall is so cool, and something else that you would characterize, I think, of Jackie's style is the fights with everyday objects.
Yes.
And this scene is one of the first times that you really get a good sense of that. I love him fighting with the clothes rack, the motorcycle. I have a note written here that says the heroes of this film are glass and insert shots. The way that they shoot this final sequence, first of all, the amount of glass that they broke and kicked people through is insane. The iconic shot of him getting his head kicked into the glass and looking right into the camera, amazing, incredible. It looks so fucking good. But yeah, the way that they use all the insert shots in these, the close-ups of feet kicking somebody's face, or you can really tell that everything is so intelligently planned out and thought through ahead.
Yes.
That they know exactly where to put the camera to show you the best action for that moment. And it's really, really incredibly shot, this entire end sequence.
But not only that, you see everything, but the shots flow together.
Totally.
And they lead into the next shot, and you feel every hit, you see everything.
Yeah,
and you're never lost in the
geography. It feels so visceral because of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, then he's a sicko and he jumps off the roof and burns off all his fingers, which is crazy.
It's absolutely insane. I mean, I feel like there's so many stunts in this movie that like it's insane because of the bodily harm. Like for me, my favorite stunt in the movie is when he just quickly hops over the fence. But that stunt for the bodily harm alone is insane. And I love that they show it 3 times. I know they also do that in Project A. I was just about to
say, you know that they were like, this is cool because they're like, we're doing it 3 times.
I don't understand why they don't do that in movies more. I don't care. Love that Jackie's like, people want to see this again.
He's also probably like, I did this and it hurt. Like we're putting in all the angles. To all stunt people, you guys are heroes. You really put your bodies on the line for the entertainment of others. And the rats have noticed. It has not gone unnoticed. We appreciate it. We love it. You guys are all incredibly talented performers and do not get enough credit.
And the dedication to getting the stunt correctly and making it look right in the camera, that's what makes this stuff work. It makes the impossible feel real.
Yeah, it does. But it always feels grounded as well. It always feels like somebody can do that because why watch someone do it?
Yes, because you can watch somebody do it in one shot.
All right, so I mean, I already know what you're going to do, and I also know what I'm going to do. So it's going to go number one.
It's going to go number one, and it's going to stay there. I don't care what comes next.
I mean, we'll see. You don't know what I think, dude.
I don't care if Spy Next Door is coming next. I don't care if The Medallion is coming next. I don't care if Skip Trace is coming next. Police Story 1 is staying at the top of this list.
All right, next up, Dragons Forever, 1988. Once again, directed by Sammo Hwang.
I think this is Sammo's best directed action film. You already talked about Wheels. We talked about Project A. To me, this feels like a step up in quality with the filmmaking. And I think the climax of this film is the best of these three. To me, this is the best movie of these three.
Yeah, it's interesting to talk about that because, we the film rats, art is subjective. We totally get that. And that's why we only speak objectively from our opinion. So, I think that it's interesting to talk about Jackie movies because how you want to rank them as an individual kind of depends on you. Do you like the ones that have slightly stronger stories, but maybe less strong action? Are you only in it for the action? Are you in it more for the comedy? Do you like the funnier ones? There's a lot of different aspects that they're playing with, and there's different ways you can value and look at the films. I don't think I agree with you. I think that the Wheels climax is stronger for me.
Are we allowed to have conflict on this show?
Yeah, let's fight, dude.
Let's fucking fight. Here's my thing. I think Wheels the climax is more enjoyable. I think it's funnier, but I still prefer the climax here because I think the fighting is better. And I think they use the three performers better.
I totally agree with that point. I absolutely do. I think that the Benny Jackie fight in Wheels is one of my favorite Jackie fights ever.
Agreed.
And I don't think the Benny Jackie fight in Dragons is as strong. I still think it's great. There's some really great moments. There's some really great stunts that happen in it. But it doesn't quite hit as hard for me as the Wheels. I watched the Wheels one, and I think I sent you a clip of it when I was watching it.
You did. You sent me a clip of it.
There's a little bit where Jackie's like, they're both on the ground trying to kick each other, and Jackie's like flipping over his legs and does like a somersault and tries to kick him in the head with the somersault. I'm like, this is like the most amazing thing I've ever seen.
I feel like Sammo figured out how to move the camera better in this and position the camera, because there's this thing, it's specifically in the fight with Benny and Jackie here, where you're getting the usual wides, but then when they punch into the close-up shots or the medium shots of them, there's movement. You're either moving into Benny or you're moving into Jackie. And I feel like it's this extra layer of, oh shit, kinetic. The fight feels so much more intense to me. And I love our cigar smoking villain.
Dude, I have that written down as well. I think that
steals the show.
He's my favorite he's my favorite big boss of any Jackie movie, I think.
Easily, because he's so funny and he's throughout the movie and he sets up and pays off. The cigar gags they get in that climax are brilliant.
Every time he does something, he just backs up and like takes like 4 tokes. Like he and then there's a moment where he throws his cigar at Jackie right in his face, and then Benny kicks him, and then he backs up and takes another one out of his jacket pocket immediately.
He gets the other one out.
Amazing comedy, amazing physicality. Him on the staircase too, like weaving his body into the railing and sliding down it with the cigar. It's fucking great.
He weaves his body up the staircase. He weaves it up the staircase.
It's an amazing performance to be funny and entertaining, but also really make an audience want you to get punched in the face.
Yes. His martial arts performance, because he's a brilliant martial artist,
Absolutely,
even though we don't see him fight that much, but somehow his movement makes you feel that he's slimy. The way his body moves, you hate him. Sammo great in this movie too. I'm going to go out on a limb here. I love the Sammo love story in this. And it's so dumb and it shouldn't work, but I find it hilarious. But I love how these Yoon, Jackie, Sammo, I love how shitty they are as people.
Yeah, well, going back to saying, nice guy Jackie's a thing. This is a little bit before nice guy Jackie starts to happen. It's more in the 90s. And this is, at least on the list we're talking about today, there's probably other movies, but at least on the ones we're talking about, this is easily the scummiest Jackie. He's a scumbag womanizer. Lawyer. Yeah, scumbag, evil lawyer.
It's amazing how good Jackie is as a performer that we want to see somebody this sleazy succeed and change.
Yeah, I do wonder. It's hard to separate from myself, like how much of his reputation as a character, as an actor, helps me, because I know he's ultimately going to be the hero. Yeah, I think that in this one too, because of the scumbagginess of the character, he gets himself in really bad situations. And as an audience, it's really fun to watch them. I mean, the situational comedy in this one is really great, where it's just kind of a circus of idiots. It's just three idiots who are, I mean, Yun Biao is proper insane in this movie.
I love his apartment. His apartment is one of the greatest film sets.
The light switch gag.
The light switch gag. It's just pure skill filmmaking.
So, okay, Buck, I think we're gonna fight about this. You like this one better than Meals.
I like this one definitely better. I will concede for you on this one that I'm willing to concede that Meals is better, because I think Meals is a better movie, jokes per minute, action per minute, movie per minute, movie overall. Dragons Forever for me.
I fully agree with that. I would say the exact same thing. I think Meals is funnier, and I like the climax of Meals better for me personally. Dragons is a bit more polished and works a bit stronger, but I don't like the characters as much in it.
Neither
per
do
se.
I get that.
And I think that I'm in on the Jackie Chan movies for the action and the comedy, and I think that those are stronger in Meals. All right, next up on the list, Supercop, 1992.
I love this movie. This was like a childhood favorite. I've probably seen this out of Jackie's Hong Kong movies the most. Michelle Yeoh is a godsend.
Yeah, she's amazing.
This is like, I think this and Rumble to me are like, if somebody is like, I don't know who Jackie Chan is, I would say watch Supercop or watch Rumble in the Bronx. This is like definitive Jackie for me. It's probably his best stunt work. It's not wall-to-wall action, but the fights are really good, specifically in that climax.
This one kind of harkens back to Project A in that way, where it's not quite as strong on the martial arts perspective as some of the other ones necessarily, but some of the set pieces / stunt work in it are really, really top-notch. I mean, he's a crazy man for the helicopter bit. And also, Michelle Yeoh is crazy for riding a motorcycle onto a moving train.
I love Michelle Yeoh's quote, which was also from the Academy thing, where she's like, me and Jackie working on this movie was essentially like we would try to one-up each other. And Jackie had to go up to her and be like, we're both going to die. Michelle
Yeoh is such a icon in just in cinema in general. I mean, in action cinema for sure, but just cinema in general. I mean, she's an Academy Award-winning actress now. And I love her talking about working with Jackie Chan, and I think they're, from my perspective, from what I've heard, they are friends with each other.
Yes.
But I love her just being like, yeah, he's a chauvinistic pig, and he used to tell me women can't do stunts, and I was like, I'll show you, and she did.
Oh, she has, in my mind, the motorcycle stunt is the best stunt of the movie.
It's crazy.
She rides a dirt bike onto a moving train, and she fell off. She did it like how many times? 4 times. No helmet. It's one of the most dangerous things. Also, she's just a brilliant performer. The comedy in this movie works really well. And I think a big part of that is her as a foil to Jackie's.
Yes.
I think this is the first nice guy Jackie movie.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Jackie's in the position where he's trying to complete the mission, but also protect her. He's very much in protector mode during the movie.
Yeah. And then that gets amplified when Maggie Chung gets thrown into the mix again, because poor Maggie Chung.
Again, he always does the wrong thing to poor Maggie Chung. But again, she plays it really, really well. And there's a lot of really great comedy. The scene where she slaps him in the face because she realizes what's happening.
Yeah.
And she goes, yeah, I almost fucked it all up, but I'm really smart, and I saved it. I did something really smart and I saved it. And the other guy is in the elevator.
It's that goes into the writing. It's like what solves the problem in the immediacy just builds to a bigger problem. And it's so good.
I think the climax of this one's really good. I also like the bulletproof vest sequence in this. It's a great conceit that her vest is full of C4 and she's trying not to get shot. There's some great gags with her getting a gun pointed at her. She points it at the vest, and
then
her and Jackie just not clicking with each other at all.
It's so funny. There's all this literally subtle stuff that works really well in this movie. And then the other shot I got to bring up, Michelle Yeoh split kicking the guys who have Jackie and the big bad in chairs, and then doing, I don't know, what would you call that?
She strikes some pretty sick poses in this movie.
This movie is, I love all these movies on this list, but this one I think out of all of them is the most nostalgic to me because I've been watching this for years. I don't know why this was always like a top one for me. I think the title, Supercop, the catchphrase, meet the cop who can't be stopped, Supercop, as Nick Frost says in Hot Fuzz when he picks up the DVD, and the trailer. I cannot, don't cut this. Please do not cut this, Xander. If you're listening, go and watch the teaser trailer for Supercop. I love the Jackie 90s trailers because they're essentially like, okay, there is this really crazy problem. It's like, I think this one's like, all of the world's criminals are in one place. And then it's like, and there's only one thing that could stop them. And it's Jackie Chan, cue action sequence. It's the same trailer as Rumble in the Bronx. It's the same trailer as Thunderbolt. It's the same trailer for like every Jackie US release from the 90s. But to me, this all lives rent free in my head.
Okay, Buck, where do you want to put this one? Because I really don't know what I'm doing with it.
So for me, we'd go Behind Dragons, above Project A. No, Project A for me is the lowest, not because it doesn't have some of the best sequences, but I feel like as a whole movie, not that it's not brilliant and not that it's not in this top ranking, but in comparison to the other ones, the stunts don't outweigh the lack of narrative propulsion.
Yeah, sure. I feel you. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. This is fine because it's really hard to rank these movies. And I would say that, again, I fully am with you that Project A is maybe a movie of set pieces that are really good, but it doesn't necessarily tie together as well, right?
Yeah.
But I do really like all the set pieces that are in it. This movie is sort of the same thing, actually.
It's the same thing, yeah.
It's a movie of set pieces that don't tie together as well as some of the other ones. So maybe as a movie, Dragons is sort of better as a whole package, but I do like both of these for what they provide of just me being like, oh, dude, I want to watch Jackie fall off the clock tower. I want to watch Michelle Yeoh jump a bike onto a moving train.
Yeah. So we're putting this
Listen,
above?
I'll concede and give this one to you.
Okay.
We can put this above Project A, below Dragons.
All right, cool.
Next up on the list, The Legend of the Drunken Master from 1994.
This was another one that I feel like was pretty omnipresent in the Jackie, like, American culture. I don't know if it was just because I was cognizant in the year 2000 when this movie was released on home video, but that poster, The Legend of the Drunken Master, of Jackie
punching the white one punching
the
through
poster, is so iconic. Even though it's like a makeshift poster 10 years later, I think it's an incredibly iconic poster. And I think this movie, like Police Story, is one of the very well regarded ones. For good reason. I think this is another Jackie movie that's good. And I would argue that this has the best martial arts, especially that climax.
It's definitely some of the strongest he's ever done. I also think, too, what's great about this one from a martial arts perspective is, we kind of touched on this before, but Jackie's been incredible in his career to be really diverse in the types of action that he's done.
Yes.
Whether that be stunts or martial arts. And even within this movie, where the conceit of it is that you have this guy who's a master at drunken boxing, there is a huge amount of different martial arts and action sequences that happen throughout the movie. There's actually very little drunken boxing in the movie. There's really only 2 drunken boxing scenes.
You're right, because the rest of the movie, it's a period piece. The fighting is different. And there's no drunken boxing in that whole sequence in the house with like the 1,000 guys.
Well, okay, so we got to touch on this because it's relevant to the end of the movie too. I read once that Jackie Chan was really upset by the reception of the original Drunken Master.
I read this too.
In like a Martin Scorsese with Goodfellas way, where Martin Scorsese was like, I made Goodfellas so everyone would go, man, gangsters are the worst. And everyone went, wow, these guys are cool. And Jackie Chan's like, I made Drunken Master to be like, drinking is bad. And everyone went, wow, drinking looks cool. So when he made this movie, he was like, I have to make drinking bad. And so the entire movie, his character is like, I can't drink, I can't drink, I can't drink.
Well, it's
to the point where the movie ends with him being like brain dead from drinking. Like he's just like, he's permanently ruined from it.
It's a weird ending, which I always forget about till I watch it, even though I think it's hilarious. The thing that's funny to me is, well, he drinks gasoline for starters. But in use, the thing that I find hysterical is like the movie goes so far and it's going to be like, I can't drink. No. But yet, I think in doing that, it makes the drinking seem like better. Like the level of skill jump he has in the climax is absolutely insane. Like, I think in trying to do the thing he was so afraid to do, he did the thing he was afraid to do to a higher degree. And I know it ends bad for the character, but it's like, again, even though Supercop was like nice guy Jackie, and this is also nice guy Jackie, a joke like that veers so far into like 80s Jackie territory.
Yeah, this one, okay, I'm going to shout out my favorite part of this movie, which is Anita Mui.
Brilliant.
She is so fucking good in this movie. She's hilarious. It's one of my favorite side characters in any Jackie movie ever. Just the stepmom that is encouraging all the bad behavior and doing everything she can to help him get away with it every time it happens.
Well, you never see that. You never see that trope either of like a good stepmom, like
yes,
a stepmom.
Definitely.
And I love her interactions with like socialites, and just everything she does is so funny and out of expectations.
There's a couple moments where she gets to do a little kung fu and she rules.
Yeah, she rocks.
And you get by far one of the most brilliant action sequences in his career when he fights in the steel factory. How does that man kick like that?
The kicking that he does, and it's like it's the low angle shot where his knee is moving in a bunch of different directions in a way that like we could all move our knee like that incredibly slowly, incredibly imprecisely, but he somehow manages to move his knee like it's a robotic arm. And the sound design in this end fight is brilliant. And to me, this is the fight. Again, it's up there with Police Story, but to me, this fight feels really painful. And I think that's such a plus side of it. And I think it also escalates. I think Jackie does his best work when he gets drunk after he drinks the gasoline, and he just becomes like he becomes like Mr. Fantastic or Mr. Elastic or Gumby. I don't know how Jackie is able to move his body in this way to combat this guy, and the different style of how they fight each other is so good for storytelling and so comical. And yeah, to me, this is his best martial arts in that climax, and that's why I love this movie. The rest of it's also good, and I think it's like, as movies go, it's good, but that climax just elevates it to everything else. I think that 20 minutes, it's his best performance to me. All right, where are we putting this one?
Yeah, I don't know. This is a tough one. I definitely am not as big on it as you, but I think that I would 100% agree that this is one of the top action displays by Jackie Chan.
Yeah.
I think maybe I would put it above Supercop below Dragons.
When I was going into this rewatch, for me, this was like, I have always listed this as my number 2. And I was kind of floored by how much Wheels and Dragons really felt to me. I'm going to put it above Dragons, which
Dragons? Okay.
Again, we're talking about, like, I hate ranking these movies in a way because all of these movies have different things that are so good about them. And I think that's what we're both trying to bring out by talking about these.
Yeah, we keep saying it, and it's totally true. I mean, there's so much to these that I don't think gets appreciated enough. But it does make them kind of hard to rank and compare and contrast because there are different things to love about all of them.
Have we ever done a joint spot?
No, and we won't.
What?
All right, last up for today, Rumble in the Bronx, 1995.
The Goldfinger.
Good year.
The historical context of Rumble in the Bronx, I actually think is important because it's like the first proper Jackie movie to break the U.S. market. And there's two reasons why I think that's the case, or three. Timing. I think it was just like our collective consciousness was ready for it. Two, it takes place in the Bronx or Vancouver, really North Bronx, Northwest. But the third point, this is like Jackie Chan movie distilled. Like if you had to sum up in general what happens in a Jackie Chan movie, like if you had to explain the plot of a Jackie Chan movie, this is a Jackie Chan movie. This is just like the archetypal Jackie Chan movie. It's the Goldfinger of Jackie Chan movies.
Certainly for us, you know, our generation, talking about being like growing up in the 90s and growing up with more modern Jackie Chan and coming to the Hong Kong stuff later. This absolutely is the formula of a Jackie Chan movie. Nice guy Jackie Chan shows up somewhere. There's bad guys doing bad things. He doesn't want to fight. He just wants to do the right thing. And they put him in a situation where he has to fight and he kicks their asses.
Yeah, royally. And this has some wonderful fights. I mean, I consider the fight in the gang base to be so quintessential Jackie.
Yeah, it's one of the best. The
fridges, jumping through the shopping cart, the pool table, the whole gag with grabbing the bottles and then faking the guy out, then hitting him. It's so good. I also think this has a great climax. I think, like we talked about,
this climax is so silly, dude.
It's so silly, but it builds in a good way. I think because like we're talking about like this other era of Jackie, like these eras of Jackie, and it really feels apparent if you watch all of his old stuff. I mean, people say a Jackie Chan movie, they're like, oh, a Jackie Chan movie is this. When people think of a Jackie Chan movie, they think of Rumble in the Bronx. I think when they think of archetypal, I think Stanley Tong's direction really shaped the 90s stuff, which is very stunt focused. While I might prefer Supercop to this, I think this is more consistent throughout. Now, all this being said, this is a dumb movie. This is like, I find like post 95, his movies get like dumb, like this and Mr. Nice Guy and Accidental Spy. And I love these movies, but they're dumb. It's a kid's movie. Like, yeah, it's a kid's cartoon. It is a kid's movie.
It's very much just a vessel for the Jackie action.
Yes.
And the Jackie moral compass of be a good person. Yeah, I mean, it is a very silly movie. The premise is his uncle is getting married and is selling his grocery store in the Bronx to Anita Muoi again. Again, she's great in this. And accidentally gets involved with a gang who just wants to hurt him. And they just... The scene where they hit all the bottles at him is really violent.
It's so violent.
You go between scenes of Jackie Chan beating people up with refrigerators to a guy getting thrown into a wood chipper.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It's almost like Austin Powers-y level of like spoof with some of the things of the drug leader, White Tiger, on a golf course on a cell phone.
It's a bizarre ending. I love it though. I actually love the climax. I love the whole thing where he steals the Lamborghini, blows the doors off it,
and ruins it, and then takes it.
Yeah, and then it's the action in this movie I think is great.
Yeah, I will say this one is really special to me, I think, because it's one of the first ones. I don't know for sure what the first one I saw. I watched them so young. This is definitely one of the first or the second rated R movie ever. So it's either this or My Cousin Vinny. But I have always grown up knowing this I'm with you as like a quintessential Jackie Chan movie. And I also agree with something you said earlier that if someone's asking you, hey, I want to watch a Jackie Chan movie, where should I start? I do think this is a great starting point.
It's funny. I think it's like a perfect starting point because in rewatching, I was like, oh, this is really cheesy, but it's really well shot. It's very colorful. It nails a lot of these things down. Like the filmmaking is great here. That first fight in the grocery store is awesome. The fact that they ripped down the grocery store. there's just the movie's wall to wall cool stuff, even the scenes that are cheesy and not action. I have a hard time ranking it though, because I want it to be on this list in the worst way, but I like have movies that I prefer, I think. But I think it's better than Project A.
So you put it below Supercop but above Project A?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, in some ways I think it's a better movie than Supercop, but in some ways it's a much worse movie than Supercop. I think Michelle Yeoh and Maggie Cheung make Supercop beat this.
Okay, there's no way. I just can't let Rumble in the Bronx go above Project A. I feel like almost all of my love for Rumble in the Bronx really just does come from the nostalgia. It's definitely a movie that I love, and there's a lot of great moments in it. But if I'm being honest with myself, it's not a better movie than Project A. I hear you about the disjointedness of it.
Yes.
But I think the direction is better. The action is better. There's just so many fun moments in it and so much great comedy and just awesome set pieces that I just can't live with myself having it be on the bottom of the list. Like it's a classic for a reason.
Listen, I'll be honest with you. It's like, I feel bad putting Project A so low. I think there's a lot of Jackie movies that are like Project A for me, which is that like these are imperfect movies, but there's a lot of really good stuff in them.
I mean, that's what we're talking about with Rumble in the Bronx, right? I think it falls into that category. It is, but I
think Rumble in the Bronx is a more consistent movie than Project A.
The thing is, I would say maybe higher highs, lower lows than Project A.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah. So is our ranking, are you going to repeat this back to me?
Yeah, you ready for it?
Yes.
Objectively, in our opinion, for a selection of Jackie Chan movies, starting from the bottom: Rumble in the Bronx, Project A, Supercop, Dragons Forever, Legend of the Drunken Master, Wheels on Meals, and The Big Cheese, Police Story.
Yeah, I can stay with that list. I think for me, it's like I got that top four. Police Story for me is definitely number one. Wheels, Dragons, and Legend could be shuffled for me.
Yeah, I think I agree with that.
I think, and I would even say Wheels and Dragons are closer for me to the top than it's just the fighting in Legend. There's something so special about that consistency, or I shouldn't say the consistency. There's something special for me about that rhythm. And I feel like it's perfected there. I love this list. I love Jackie movies. I want people to talk about them more. We didn't talk about Armor of God. We didn't talk about Operation Condor. We didn't talk about Project A2. We didn't talk about any of the American stuff.
We did Police Story 1 and 3, but not 2.
And 2 is really great too.
Who Am I?
2 is awesome. We didn't talk about Who Am I?
The dude's made a lot of movies. Listen, if people really like this Jackie list, and honestly, even if they don't, I don't give a fuck.
Even if they don't, we're going to do another one.
Yeah, I think
want to do an American ranking.
I think we will do. We should do that. I think we'll also just do another group of Jackie movies and add them within this list. You and I, and just go through and get through some more of his filmography, because I definitely agree with you. You know, as a group who's trying to create a podcast in the film review space, obviously there are big things that we like that are popular that we will talk about at some point. And not that Jackie Chan is not popular, but there isn't a lot of people talking about it. So since it is something that you and I are passionate about, I would love to lend our voices to the world of Jackie Chan commentary, just for anyone else out there who's looking to get into Jackie Chan. I mean, if any of these movies sound, from what we said, make you want to watch them, like, that's really awesome. I highly recommend them.
Listen, I'm always happy to join when it's talking about stuff that I love. Talking about stuff that I'm happy to watch 7 films for back to back. I'm always down for this, and I'm always down for Jackie. Yeah. Please go watch his stuff. Thanks for listening, definitely. Guys. This was a long one. Yeah.
Thanks for listening, everybody. You can follow us on social media, Rats on Film Pod. We'll post this list on Letterboxd, and you can follow us where you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, that sort of thing. We will be back in 2 weeks to talk about some more movies. In the meantime, have a good one.
Bye.